Welcome, everybody. We're back for another episode of the X Podcast. Today, I have on Dr. Lisa Brown. Hey, Lisa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Brenda. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's so great to have you here and talking to my audience and your audience. So you're a perimenopause coach and a pharmacist.
Correct.
Yeah, and you're out of Arizona and you work with women, helping them find, the best solutions, helping them manage it in their sort of day-to-day life as they're going through perimenopause.
Yeah, exactly that. I help women overcome the perimenopausal challenges that can sometimes set us back
Mhm.
in the midlife phase and overcome those so that we can live our best life, make our second half of life even better than the first.
And to be honest with you, up until probably about a year ago when I wasn't following people that specialized in perimenopause coaching or hormone therapy practitioners, I really didn't know to the extent that the conversation around perimenopause and menopause is almost like non-existent.
Hmm.
And I, to be honest with you, knew that I was sort of probably going through some type of perimenopause symptoms. We joke about it in girlfriend circles, etc.
Hmm.
5, 8 years ago, but it wasn't like my doctor queued me up at my birthday,
Right.
the 35-year-old birthday or the 38-year-old birthday and say, just, you might be going through perimenopause in a couple of years and watch out for these symptoms. And if these come up, call me.
Hmm.
So what's your thought on that? And just the conversation around perimenopause, why is it not happening for some women? And why is it, everything that we see on TikTok and Instagram right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like so many things these days that awareness is growing, as far as, just females in general, right? We've seen so much growth amongst, with entrepreneurship and just so many areas. And same thing with health. The women's health space has been growing so much in recent years, which is fantastic. But it's really up to us and, kind of what we're doing right now to really get the word out there, because you're right, we're never taught about this. It's like you get your short little, blip in health class about puberty and what happens when your hormones go up,
Mhm.
but nobody ever teaches you what happens when they go back down. I have been, perimenopause has been a part of my life since a very young age. I was diagnosed with a form of perimenopause before I turned 20. So I've had my own perimenopause symptoms most of my life. So I've always been very aware, and it's been fun to see awareness start to grow, start to
Mhm.
kind of creep its way out, in large part using social media, as an outpouring for that. So it's cool to see, but we got to keep talking.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too is that for women, maybe we haven't necessarily lived as long to go through sort of those stages of different hormonal journeys or different,
Hmm.
stages of our hormone health. It maybe wasn't something that was sort of shared about, and maybe
Hmm.
even like the stigma of like sort of shame or doubt or anything like that from our mothers, grandmothers, etc., where it's like you're just going to have to experience this on your own and
Yeah.
and not sort of talk about it
Yeah.
versus like birth, pregnancy, maternity. We get lots of advice as women on those topics, whether you have children or not have children. Should you have children? When should you have them? How many should you have? Like that's such a dominant part of our conversation as far as like women communities, families, etc. But it's almost like the menopause or the perimenopause topic is just taboo, right? It's kind of like, well, it's
Hmm.
end of life. Like you're done if you're going through perimenopause. And the
Yeah.
fact that you also had a journey through perimenopause at such an earlier age than maybe most women, it's just like, how can we I guess the question, and this is maybe more philosophical than practical, but how can we can continue to like lift that veil, right? Of doubt or that shroud of like shame around it.
Right, right. I think there has historically been that stigma and that shame, not wanting to talk about hot flashes or,
Mhm.
vaginal dryness, God forbid we talk about things. But the more we talk, the more we learn, the more we share, the more anybody listening comes forward and speaks about these things and shares stories and take action to learn and be your own self advocate, the more we can spread that awareness. So I think it's heading in a good direction. I think we're like so many things when it comes uh, to women and just how things have changed for us over time. I think this is another one of those things that we're just kind of on the brink of a lot of knowledge, education, both scientific and philosophical, just a lot of awareness coming to this topic.
And so, what are some of those typical symptoms? Because maybe there's a woman that's listening to us right now that's like, I didn't even know I was in perimenopause. I didn't know that
Yeah.
these symptoms are related to that. What would,
Yeah.
what would be some of those telltale signs that we should be aware of?
Yes, and I want to mention too, because so many of us um, who are in, our 40s and 50s now had hysterectomies before we were really well informed. In fact, I just had somebody reach out to me and say, I had a hysterectomy 7 years ago and I'm in my 40s. How do I know? So just
Mhm.
to piggyback off that, whether or not you've had a hysterectomy, some things, that you can watch out for if you still kept your ovaries. Some other things to watch out for are the telltale fatigue, just that exhaustion that can creep up, 2 p.m. and you're out, your brain has checked out, your body has checked out. That's a big one. And some of these things, so the fatigue, the brain fog is so tough on female entrepreneurs
Mhm.
specifically. That's another one that can be really tough on us. Some of these things they don't really talk about, right? We expect, oh, I'm going to get hot flashes or my period is going to change. But for many women, you get really darn near close to menopause itself when your period is still regular. Fatigue, sleep issues is a big one. Mood instability, if you're having those up and down mood swings throughout the month. All of these things are big mega signs of perimenopause, especially if you're in your 40s to early 50s.
Okay. And then what's the, I guess, the time span? Because I've heard that it could be like 8 years. You could 8 to 10 years. You could be in perimenopause before you actually go through menopause. So what's sort of that, I guess, time period that women can expect to be living and trying to function with these symptoms going on?
Yeah, you said it. It can be up to 10 years. So the average age of achieving menopause, and so just to review for everyone, when you achieve menopause, it is a point in time. So that is when you've gone your 12 months without getting a period. So the average age of achieving menopause is 51, and perimenopause can last up to 10 years before that.
Okay.
So given that the ages 41 to 51 are your main perimenopause window, that being said, I do work with a lot of women who are in their early 50s who are still in perimenopause
Right.
and just getting like that one cycle every 10 months that still pops up.
Yeah. And then what is menopause? So I've gone through 12 months of not having a period. So now I'm in menopause. And then are there different changes, hormonal changes in your body? Again, all those symptoms that we experience in perimenopause, do they still continue, or is it now something else that
Yeah.
we need to expect? Because I think that's the next chapter that I'm like, what's coming next?
Yeah, yeah. So the definitions, the terminology can get a little bit confusing, but so it's perimenopause up until you have no period for a year. That's menopause.
Hmm.
After you've reached that, you are officially post-menopause for the rest of your life. So
Okay.
post meaning after. So that is your new phase for the remainder of your life. And this is when your hormones start to stable out again. And most women start to have less symptoms. For most of us, perimenopause is where our hormones are doing most of the dancing
Yeah.
and we feel our worst. Once
Okay.
you get over that hump, most women, especially like a year or two after that hump, things start to even out again. So
Thank you.
there is hope. Yes, absolutely.
Stay the course.
Yes, stay the
Yeah.
course, stay the course. But there's a lot we can do along the way to support you while you're on your journey. And I think that's where a real gap is in the education and awareness, that women
Mhm.
have is we think we just have to suffer in silence. I can't get out of bed. I'm depressed. I'm crying every day. I can't focus on anything. And we just suffer because we're women and that's what
Right.
we do.
Yeah.
We, push through when in reality, there's a lot of things that we can do to support our health that is specific for our bodies in this phase, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that we need to recognize too as women is, especially if we're going through perimenopause in that sort of, 40 range to early 50s, if we go back to our mothers or our grandmothers' generation, our kids were most likely out of the house. And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we are, working women, we started having children. Like I didn't have my first child until I was 32, 33, and then my
Mm-hmm.
second in my like mid to late 30s. To then go into perimenopause while I'm still having like two teenagers at home and juggling things, plus maybe aging parents. I'm launching a business. There's a lot of things that are sort of juggling. So, what have you seen as being sort of like those solutions that really help women out as they're going through like brain fog, insomnia, fatigue during the day to kind of
Mm-hmm.
have that stamina to get through their day? Because, I mean, that's the other thing too, is that some of these things we can't necessarily shut off. Um,
Absolutely.
you can't just like be like, okay, I'm in perimenopause. Like you guys fend for yourself for the next 10
Right.
years.
Right. We still have the same responsibilities, if not more, to your point.
Right.
The stress and the responsibilities that we have to accomplish can really pack on during this phase. Things that you can do to support. We cushion the blow, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, there's so many things we can't control. So what I work on with my clients is grabbing the different things in your unique life and your journey that we can control, and
Mhm.
let's impact those things so that we're ready to cushion the blow of all the other things that we can't control, right? So a lot of it is going back to the basics, going back to, how is my sleep? How is my nutrition? What I've found is that it's in perimenopause, you need, what's the word I'm looking for? An all-encompassing approach, all-inclusive, kind of like
Right.
you're, at an all-inclusive resort. A lot of people tend to just, well, I'm going to try this particular diet to help with my
Mhm.
perimenopause symptoms, or I'm going to take this one supplement, or I'm going to take this one hormone, right?
Mhm.
And we hope that that's going to, solve our problems. To really tackle perimenopause, you need to take it from an all-encompassing approach and look at all the factors. We look at your nutrition, your sleep, we look at your stress, right? Your cortisol, that's a big factor.
Right.
We look at your supplements. In some cases, we look at hormones, all the different tools in the toolbox. But once you have them laid out in front of you, it is like, bam, like your engine has been restarted. I mean, I've seen women just completely change their trajectory of, maybe what looked like one postmenopausal life, and completely turn that to now what looks like achieving a completely different, or what will lead to a different postmenopausal life,
Wow.
by focusing on reining in their hormones. So hormones are
So,
powerful.
yeah, so what I'm hearing from you too is because I've, and not to be critical of different paths or different recommendations that women have gotten from their medical practitioners, but I've also heard that, I'm going through perimenopause, but I was diagnosed with uh, something by my therapist, and now I'm on, antidepressant medication.
Yeah,
And not to say that that's a wrong choice and there's no judgment with
absolutely.
that, but that might not be the solution. And in some cases, I think maybe perimenopause has been looped into like depression. That could be one of the symptoms or the result of going through like fatigue. Like, yeah, like if I'm overworked and tired and my hormones are out of whack, yes, I could have some negative thoughts about things, but it might not be depression that's causing those things. It could be perimenopause. So,
Yeah,
and so I think like what
100%.
you're saying is like looking at all those factors, looking at all the solutions, and then coming up with like the best menu of options, right, for people.
Absolutely. Yep. You have to have, it's the right tools in your toolkit, right?
Hmm.
Because we want to think about what is our long-term goal here, right? We're not 20, we're not thinking of how are we going to look in our swimsuit next summer. We're thinking about, like,
Right.
am I going to be strong enough to lift up my grandkids in a year? Am I going to be able to chase them around the park? That's what we're going for. So we want sustainable solutions that are going to set us up for the most success in our postmenopausal body as well.
Okay. And then you talked about hormones and like hormone therapy.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of controversy about that over there, in
Hmm.
that sort of space. And I think the controversy, from my opinion, or from what I've seen, is either I don't have awareness around it, and so my answer is no, I'm not going to try hormone therapy. Two, I've heard bad things about it, maybe from my grandmother or my grandmother's friend down the block,
Hmm.
and so I'm going to rule that out as well. But then there's also women that are seeing lots of success around hormone therapy. Like, kind of
Hmm.
what's your recommendation for, I guess, women, like, depending if they're not on hormone therapy, should they look at it? And I know it's controversial, so I appreciate the fact that you may have a bit of a neutral stance, but also, like, where do we go to find the facts?
Yeah. Yes, that's a loaded topic. In my former life, where I worked solely as a pharmacist, I actually
Right.
worked in a pharmacy where we made hormone replacement therapy. We worked with doctors prescribing hormone replacement therapy day in and day out. I've tried the gamut of hormone therapy myself. So my very unbiased thought on hormone replacement therapy is that it should absolutely be considered. It should be something on your mind, unless you have a major contraindication.
Mhm.
I'm a breast cancer survivor. I have a very, which even in that case, and sometimes these days you can use hormone replacement.
Right.
Rarely is it an absolute no, in my opinion. That being said, it shouldn't be the first go-to, in my opinion. There's so many other things that we can do before that. And even if you end up on hormone replacement later on down the line, we're going to want to establish these foundations in your hormonal health regardless, because what can happen is if you jump into hormone replacement to fix one thing, what I've seen happen more often than not is it can also induce other problems. So like you might find that you're sleeping better, but then gain 10 pounds in 3 months, right? So what do we want to do there? So it's important to ask questions, talk to your doctor about it. Don't suffer in silence like we were just talking about, but also know that it's not going to be the magic pill. You know, it's not going to be the one thing that fixes all your problems in most cases.
Okay. And yeah, I think you just said, like, ask questions, right? Own your health plan. I think in the past, maybe our attitude would have been like I said to you at the beginning of our session, you know, when I turned a certain age, why didn't I get a call from my doctor saying you're probably going to be going through perimenopause? Give me a call. It's like we need to own our health plan and, you know, and get informed and understand these things and then ask the right questions. So I want to shift gears just a little bit because whenever I get an entrepreneur on my podcast, I always want to go behind the scenes a little bit. And I love the fact that you've shared more information about what you do and how you serve your clients. I'm curious for you, like, when did you go down the entrepreneurial journey? Like, what was the sort of trigger point that said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And this is like a really important, you know, part for my life and, you know, where I want to go with my career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think probably like so many of you guys listening, we have this like vision of our career and our job, and then we get closer to the midlife phase and we're like, this isn't really what it cracked up to be, or I don't feel fulfilled, you know, whatever that may be. Like I said earlier, a large part of my life has been spent learning about hormones, thinking about hormones. And in my professional career, where I did spend a lot of time working with women on hormone replacement, I just consistently saw a gap. You know, I saw that gap of women who came in with the hope that their hormones therapy that they're taking is now going to solve all their problems, and it just doesn't. There's a disconnect between women and their doctors, lack of confidence, you know, so that's really what drove it, was the desire to help, you know, to spread this awareness that we're talking about. Does that answer your question as far as kind of what triggered my journey? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's to help you all. You know, I know I've lived firsthand and I've seen it over and over and over again, the power of hormones. And I have seen how women have just been run down by our healthcare system and not listened to and not believed, and have been given birth control and prescription sleep medications and antidepressants. And it's just, we just can't do it anymore. We can't let ourselves be treated that way anymore.
Right. I love that. So it sounds like to me, it's like, you know, it's more around sort of like your passion, like learning about it, having to go through your own health journey and understanding more about perimenopause and menopause and how that impacted you. And then you turn that around into like really your purpose.
Absolutely.
So taking that passion into your purpose, which I think is really key, which I think, you know, a message just for all entrepreneurs that are listening is that you may have that idea, or emerging entrepreneurs, and you think, hey, would anyone else be interested in this? Would anyone else care? Or is this just my own passion? And I think you're a great example of where you've taken that and, you know, turned it into a business opportunity for yourself, which is amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better than to be able to take something you love and then turn it into, you know, a business and be able to share that with other people and bring other women alongside you in that.
So Lisa, how can women work with you as a perimenopause coach? What does that look like? What does that experience happen for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want to just mention that like you all are on just such an amazing journey. And like Brenda said, like I can attest to that side as well. You just have so much opportunity to use your hormones for your advantage. So whether that be in learning more from me, learning more from your doctor, whoever that might be, you have so much opportunity. So just grab hold of that, because you can either battle your body in perimenopause and fight it, and your hormones can hold you back and drag you down, or you can get alongside them, and it really will kickstart that success in your energy, your productivity, your clarity of mind, all of those things.
I note on that, like I love that, because normally I'm always talking to my clients about like tools and like here's an email marketing platform and here's this and here's that. And you're basically saying like your hormones can actually be like a business strategy for you.
Heck yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Even especially if you're in early perimenopause and your hormones still have somewhat of a monthly cycle to them, we use that. We ride your cycle wave and use that to your advantage, because you know, we're changing on the inside every single day. all the
Mm-hmm.
time, right? As females, our hormones are different every single day. But we can use that to our advantage, right? We know when our hormones are going to work alongside us and give us more energy and give us more fire under our belt. And then we know when our hormones are going to cause us to be more introspective and we want to reflect more and we want to spend more downtime. So we might as well use that and optimize it and gain success. Think about your business projects. Like, what do I need to be? Like, I schedule everything that's more forward facing. I schedule at certain times of the month where I know I am going to be more ready to get on camera
Right.
versus other things that I'm like, I schedule those at certain times of the month.
Yeah.
So
Or I just want to
there's
work
a,
behind the scenes in my business. Yeah.
yeah. But so to answer your question, as far as how to work with me, I primarily work with clients one-on-one, uh, an in-depth 12-week deep dive into basically resetting your hormones in perimenopause
Mm-hmm.
and getting everything aligned so that you are on a path to success to be the best version of you post menopause as well.
Okay.
Because I find that a lot of women are like, I kind of know what to do. My doctor said to relax more. This person said not to stress. Like, I kind of
Right.
know. So the way I look at it is like if you go bowling, right, and you use bumpers, it's
Yes.
like when you have a perimenopause coach, when we work together one-on-one, it's like you have bumpers on your lane. So
Okay.
I'm there in your back pocket for a while, walking alongside you to say, Amanda, let's just kind of rein it in a little bit this way. Oop, you're going a little bit off track. Let's rein it in off this way.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it in a way that it is stepwise and smooth so that it's not like you're rocking my world, Lisa. So it's
Got it.
like, let's take the life that you're already living and work with that to improve your hormones.
Amazing.
So, but I do have self-paced courses and group coaching options as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, so lots of options.
Cool. And where can people find you to
Yeah,
find out all of your offers?
absolutely. I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook. Those are my two main social media platforms. I have a Facebook group. It's called the 40s Hormone Fix. We meet once a week. We go live for kind of just perimenopause Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
And then Instagram as well. I also have a website, and you can reach out to me through any of those methods.
Perfect. And we'll make sure that all your contact information is in the show notes so people can reach out to you there. And you've
Awesome.
also sent along some resources that people can
Yeah.
access. What are a couple? So you mentioned your Facebook group that people can join up and, connect with you weekly, get their questions answered. What's another resource that you sent along to me that like I can just sort of make sure that people take note of when they look at the show notes?
Absolutely. My perimenopause masterclass is a great place to start because it really hits on three of the biggest problems that most people struggle with in perimenopause, which is metabolism or, kind of that midsection weight gain. It hits really
Right.
heavy on that, along with energy, along with mood stability. So that masterclass covers those three topics. That's a great starting place to go to.
Awesome. Great. Lisa, it's been amazing having you on today. Thanks so much for sharing all your knowledge, your brilliance with us. I know that people are going to reach out to you because it is still like uncharted waters for many of us. And so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
It's my pleasure, Brenda. Thank you again so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, bye.